Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you've had a beautiful Christmas time out with fam and friends and chilling and unwinding, whatever you've been doing. I hope it's been great for you. Okay, so I just want to talk about the new moon for 2022. So I can't believe we are here already. It's just time is such a tricky thing, isn't it? It feels so surreal at times. It has this quality to it that feels very real, at certain times, and at other times it feels like a complete illusion because it actually is both in different ways. And time is an interesting point here because the new moon is in Capricorn, and of course its ruler is Saturn, the Lord of time. So I've been reflecting on this the last couple of days and just kind of intuiting what I've been feeling about it. What have I been connecting to with it? And I've had a look at obviously the chart, the astrology, which I'm going to bring up. But I also pulled up a card for us, and I really love this card. It's the High Priestess card. So again, that's a beautiful deck that the lovely DJ Nocturna gifted to me. So the High Priestess is such a beautiful card. She's a really an archetypal feminine goddess of wisdom, really, isn't she? So I think this is a very powerful card. Well, it obviously is anyway, just unto itself, but relative to the new moon, because some of the key themes that come in are things like she holds deep, profound knowledge and wisdom. It's very much an inner card, so it corresponds to an inner state as opposed to external action, taking place. It's really about listening to our own gut feeling, our intuition, and our deep, deep inner knowing and wisdom. And this lady, this goddess, she represents basically really connecting to the wisdom from within that um, really has nothing to do with the consensus reality. And she really just doesn't give a shit, actually, what judgment may come, as it were, from the external consensus reality, which is the externalized personality based level of Saturn, right? So this card is showing us that um, I'm not afraid to be judged. I'll listen to my gut feeling on things. I know what's right for me. I know the path that I need to follow for what feels right for me, regardless of what's being projected out there in the Saturn reality at that personality level. She's got strong self esteem, comfortable in her own skin, very self reliant. So, this is a message for us to really get in touch with these things. She is a card that corresponds to really understanding the dual nature of reality, that there is this dual nature. There's the dark, there's the light, there's the inner, there's the outer, etc. But very strong intuitive powers, a very strong feminine might, a feminine a woman, let's say, might be around you at this time in your life, um, being some source of inspiration. But really, it's that feminine counterpart within you that holds that real beautiful divine feminine wisdom. And it's really about tapping into that and understanding that you can be your own counsel, by trusting your gut feeling and trusting your own inner knowledge and understanding and wisdom. And again, when we, to tap into those aspects of who we are, we've got to go beyond the judgment, the personality, the fears, all that sort of stuff. And how do we get there? Well, it's a different process and a different journey for each of us. And there's no one way and there's no right or wrong way. It's just finding our own inner sort of voice, if you like. And I mean the deep inner voice, because we have a few sort of inner voices, and the one that sits sort of at the surface level, if you like, is frequently the inner critic, that has all these judgments on self and others. And we've got to penetrate a lot deeper to get to this other voice that comes from the soul that is just much more loving, right, and empathetic and compassionate. And it is about the strong intuitive faculties and powers that we hold within us that we all have access to. We just need to learn how to, tune them sometimes, and how to tap into it, and how to draw that out for ourselves. And gut instinct, gut feeling is, what this card really talks about. And so she's actually saying to us, with this new moon cycle in Capricorn, it's really about listening to your gut instinct on things, right? Now, the new moon has some very interesting aspects to it, and I looked at quite a few different things about it, and it's pretty straightforward actually. So I'll bring up the chart in a moment and we'll start unpacking that. Let me just think, was there Sabian symbol? Okay, I'll do Sabian symbol a little later. All right, so let me just share my screen and bring up, let's bring up the new moon chart. Okay, so this is based for Melbourne, Australia. And obviously you will adjust the chart based on your location if you actually want to look at the chart for your location. But one of the more significant things to do really is just locate 12 degrees of Capricorn, which is where the new moon is. And where does that sit in your chart essentially, right? So you want to find where is 12 degrees, or where is Capricorn, 12 degrees of Capricorn against your own birth chart, right? So look at this beautiful arrangement here. We've got Sun Moon, which is obviously the new moon. We've got the goddess Juno, who's a principle of relationships and partnerships. And of course, we've got the beautiful goddess Venus, who recently went retrograde and formed the conjunction to Pluto in Capricorn. This particular conjunction is highly significant, as I've mentioned in previous videos, because in this particular sign, as a retrograde Venus being close to Pluto, I think the last time it occurred was, I think it was the 1700s. Yeah, it was 1770. So it was quite a long time ago. Naturally, we've had Venus-Pluto conjunctions since then, many times in fact, but it's the fact that she was retrograde in this sign and conjunct Pluto that had only occurred, such a long time ago. So we have this energy of the Capricorn Venus star point, right, which occurs on the 8th of January. And again, just to remind all of you, or to let others of you know, in case you haven't watched previous videos and you're not aware of this, this is a brand new 8-year cycle that Venus begins for us, right, in January. And so what would be really great to do is look at what was going on 80 years ago for you, okay, because that's where that cycle began the last time, right? And so we've just finished that 8-year cycle and we're starting a new one. You can also look at the midpoint, which is 4 years ago. The new moon is really, it's picking up all this energy, right, of Venus and Juno and Pluto, of course, because the new moon is in Capricorn. So it's quite interesting that we've got, a new Venus cycle beginning, which is all to do with love, relationships, creativity, joy, sharing, but it's going to be projected through, if you like, the Capricorn archetype. So we've kind of got to take things a little bit more seriously with regards to, what we're putting our time and energy into, what we're investing in. We need to have some clear boundaries around our relationships, whether it's, intimate personal relationships, or whether it's family, or whether it's friendships, because Venus corresponds to all those different levels. Venus is the principle of relating period. So we relate to a lot of different people, right? So there is clearly some message there, you know, where we are starting. It's like a clear slate almost, right? Because this new moon is the first new moon of 2022, and it is in Capricorn. The Venus star point is in Capricorn. Pluto is there as well. So it's talking about really death, letting go, purging, transformations. Some relationships may just come to an end and just completely leave your life. We will have to let certain people and things go. That's part and parcel of Pluto. Pluto will, we can't transform with Pluto if we don't actually just let something go. You know, it's just part and parcel of Pluto's energy. So the other thing that I was thinking about, because at a consensus state, at a consensus reality level, right, this Capricorn energy can be quite suppressive, right? It can be quite restrictive, limiting, and make us, not make us, but sometimes we can experience things like judgment and fear and things like that, which are some of the things that Saturn, of course, brings up. But here's the thing, and I was really reflecting on this yesterday, and I posted a picture of it yesterday, and it's actually a picture of Saturn. And I'd like to show it to you, actually. Let me just... So, oh, can I bring it here? Yes, I can. Okay, have a look at this picture of Saturn. Never mind the lines. Those are the lines that I just drew. Let me just clear them. Okay, so have a look at this picture of Saturn. This is Saturn taken under infrared lighting. This is a real image of Saturn. And so what this actually really reminded me of yesterday is that when we look at the general sort of pictures of Saturn, we're used to seeing it in a sort of orangey, browny, kind of earthy kind of color, more sort of earthy tones, right? And so look at what it looks like under a different light, an infrared light. Now, the reason this is significant is because in, let me just, how do I get out of this now? I need to, okay, I'll need to share screen again, just bear with me. And let's just bring up the chart again. Okay, so the reason I think that that is significant is because in old medieval ancient astrology, Saturn was considered to govern or have rulership over magicians. And magicians back in those days were actually the astrologers, you know, people who had, you know, the ability to work with divine wisdom, astrology, the stars, the wandering stars, which are the planets, and the fixed signs, which are the constellations, but having that ability to access intuitively and otherwise information from the stars was something that was, and still is, a very specialized and skilled talent, right? To be able to work with astrology. It's one thing to, you know, just kind of read a little bit on astrology here and there and know the zodiac Aries right through to Pisces. That's, you know, I mean, the consensus reality has always been aware that there are 12 signs of the zodiac, and, you know, oh, my birthday is in December, so I'm a Sag, you know. That's just basic sort of knowledge, if you like, but real magical insight and wisdom, understanding very deep, profound teachings that are beyond the surface level of things. Well, they're the magi's, they're the magicians, they're the astrologers, right? And so in traditional ancient astrology, before the outer planets were discovered, Saturn was the planet that corresponded actually to magicians. And it got me thinking about that yesterday when I looked at that picture of Saturn, because I thought, isn't that interesting? We are, as we learn in our life path and our life journey, which is Saturn is the teacher. As we learn through lessons and through our own personal development and growth, that learning process is such a deep journey that enables us to really ultimately, and what the aim really needs to be, is to integrate Saturn from within. The more integration that we do, the more we experience a reality that is in alignment with what is truthful to us, with what connects to our heart and our soul. And the more we can be authentic with that, right? And stand in that without fear of anything, really. That's certainly what I have been doing a long time, and am still cultivating and integrating that, every single day, right? That's called evolution, consciousness, integration, purposeful integration, awareness, intention, illumination. So this Saturn energy, in other words, for many people, it will potentially be, given the nature of reality and the paradigm that's still clearly very strong, it will be experienced as perhaps, a lot of further restrictions and limitations. There's no doubt about that. But my take on it, for those of you, and I know there are many of you that have a different understanding, a deeper connection to what you know is right for you, a deeper connection to your soul's guidance, intuitive guidance system, then, this new moon in Capricorn ruled by Saturn can be an activation of a new cycle, because it's a new cycle. It's going to govern the whole month of January, okay? Because it occurs 3rd of January in the Southern Hemisphere, and it'll be the 2nd of January for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's going to, it's really going to color the whole month of January, right? So we can take it how we wish to take it. And it is up to us to cultivate the energy through the lens of our perspective, through wisdom. Now, remember, Capricorn is also the sea goat. We have the goat, the mountain goat, which is the typical depiction of the archetype Capricorn, which has tremendous powers and strengths, by the way. It's not to undermine that level of Capricorn at all. The best of Capricorn is brilliant. There's been extraordinary people that have come through life, historically and so forth, that, have been extraordinary inspirational leaders for the world. And I've mentioned this person before, Martin Luther King, exceptional human being, a true, authentic leader who truly cared about people, his people, and people and humanity. That's the best of Capricorn when we see that, But when we see the flip side to that coin, it is always connected to that version of Saturn, Kronos, in the Olympus time, where he swallowed all his children for fear of being taken over. Now, that's what we're seeing in the world today. The level of control that's been in play for over 10,000 years is losing its grip. It can't hang on to that false control anymore, which has kept people asleep, right? So, new moon in Capricorn, new year, new beginning, new Venus star point in Capricorn. This is an opportunity to cultivate, integrate a new version of the reality that you wish to see for yourself. That does not mean that you're going to change the world out there. No one can do that, but we can change the world within, which ultimately changes what we experience and what we see out there. So this has got to do with what is your perspective of reality? Where are you at with it, right? What are you holding on to? What structures have you built and integrated that are either working for you or either keeping you extremely limited in your scope, in your vision of what you can create for yourself and your life? We get so stuck in a rut, in a comfortable zone, in what appears to be a level of safety. And in truth, there is no safety because nothing is permanent. We can't control anything that happens out there. Nothing. A lot of people are not going to like hearing that, and that's okay with me. That's an actual truth. It's not my opinion. Try to control water. Can you control water in your hand? So water is a very powerful symbol for the soul, for our emotional body, and for the reminder of needing to be fluid in life, fluid, because the opposite to that is obviously to be stagnant and stuck, right? And Capricorn has that side to it. It can be so rigid and constricted. It narrows the arteries. You know, that's what Saturn does. It constricts and contracts at one level. On another level, it's also the incredibly, ambitious, strong leader, responsible, can handle the very difficult situations. Capricorn is a tough sign. It's really tough. My mum's a Capricorn, and she's been through an interesting journey in her life, and her life hasn't been easy at all. But I tell you what, she's that goat. It just keeps climbing up that mountain, just keeps, going through one step at a time and just standing strong, right? So every archetype has its shadow side. It has its difficult, obviously, characteristics, and it has its really beautiful characteristics. That is the case, of course, with any archetype. But here, what I'm seeing is another theme that is very, very strong in this new lunation cycle is the theme of relationships and partnerships, because of Juno's presence and because of Venus being there as well, right? And of course, given that Venus is retrograde, there is always a revision process that takes place when Venus goes retrograde. Juno is a symbol of partnership and marriage and relationships as well. So this is a new moon cycle pointing us to actually the relationships that we have or we are in or may begin at this time have a real Capricorn tone or theme to them. And the question is going to be, are these relationships constrictive? Are you able to be yourself, Aries, which is the Chiron square, and I'll bring that up in a second? Or are you feeding into conditioned ways of being, conditioned imprints that have been imprinted inside you from birth and pre-birth? Capricorn is the archetype that corresponds to conditions, right? Conditioned responses, beliefs, positions, and so forth. And that is fed through what is dictated to us from the external reality, right? The consensus reality. And remember the card that came up, the Priestess, she's basically saying that, well, if you want to get really connected with your inner wisdom and truth, what is truthful for you, you've got to be able to actually face the reality that might be judgmental and basically say, screw you, kind of thing. And that does not infer or imply being mean or being rude or aggressive or anything like that. It just means being strong enough in yourself to stand in your truth regardless of the fears that may come up of being judged or ridiculed or excluded. So it takes a lot of strength to do that. Now, the square to Chiron, which is what this new moon picks up, is an interesting one because Chiron recently went direct, and here it is now at the beginning of 2022 forming a square to the new moon. And so this speaks to a few different things. One level of it is going to be, well, relative to the construct of the reality that I'm in or am creating, how much of it is controlled or conditioned by what's being told to me out there, and how much am I able to be myself, Aries, and heal my own self by having the courage to be free, to be comfortable in my own skin, to understand my own identity, who I am and who I am becoming. So because there's some relationship themes here, there could be some elements of feeling some kind of pain or some kind of hurt from relationships, from a particular person, from a relationship that you were in or you're wanting to be in. There's an inherent sort of conflict there with feeling pressured to do the right thing versus doing what feels more authentic for you, and that enables you to be free and autonomous. And so there's an inherent sort of conflict there with that, right? That's what that kind of highlights. The thing that I really like, though, is that Uranus is actually forming a trine to the new moon. And that's very helpful because when you're talking about Capricorn, consensus state reality, judgment, feeling burdens of responsibilities and duties, well, what's going to be the antidote to that? Clearly, it's going to be Uranus. And Uranus is in a trine aspect, which essentially means it's supporting the new reality and the new structures you want to create around your reality that can actually enable you to feel a greater sense of autonomy, Uranus, a greater sense of freedom, Uranus, the ability to be authentic, Uranus, and not getting stuck in the personality, externalized level of Saturn Capricorn energy. So Uranus trine this new moon is really really helpful for being able to find the pathway forward in the construct of the reality that you wish to construct, and that actually the way you do it, because it's Capricorn, it's got to somehow, at least from that external level, it's got to somehow mold into reality, if you like, just as it appears on the external level. And the Uranus enables you to do that in a very unique way, in a way where you won't feel constrained and constricted and suffocated by Saturn. Uranus is going to enable you to find a version of authenticity that's inside you that can come through, integrated into this new moon energy, right? So it's really beautiful having Uranus there. What else did I want to say? Mercury has recently ingressed into Aquarius, and that's one of my favorite places for Aquarius, even though Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini, which are, fantastic places for Mercury for sure. Even though Mercury in Aquarius doesn't really have any dignity or debility, my observation has been anyone who has Mercury in Aquarius really has a brilliant mind. It's one of the best places for Mercury, I feel. So in terms of how this speaks to, the new year 2022 and going into the month of January and, going into this new moon in Capricorn, Mercury in Aquarius, the most obvious thing is that it's going to enable people to think a little bit differently, right? Think outside the box, come up with some different and unique ideas in your life journey, you know, at the moment relative to this new moon cycle, right? So it's the ability to think outside the box. It's also very, very useful for objective, clear thinking that enables you to see the whole picture. You know, Aquarius, the later signs of the zodiac, particularly, we can throw Scorpio in, but particularly Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, those signs are able to actually perceive the bigger picture in their own way because they're all different. But the point is that they have this scope of vision that's beyond the subjective and the personal. So their vision can spread very, very far. And particularly in Aquarius, because it is the sign of humanity. So in Aquarius, it's not about what I think personally, that's Leo. In Aquarius, it's how can I think about this in the context of the whole human race? How can I think about this in a more fair and just way that actually sits at a more objective position, you know, illumination, clarity, right? Seeing the bigger picture. And so, given everything that's going on in the background, Mercury in Aquarius is brilliant to help us actually see perhaps things that we couldn't see before, open our mind up to a new way of understanding certain data or information, you know, communications, being interested in listening to things that are a little bit sort of, you know, out that way a bit or up that way, you know, just out of the consensus frame of what's been communicated, right? And so some really radical and unique and genius type of thoughts and ideas and communications can be born out of Mercury in Aquarius. It's such a brilliant place. So I'm so happy to see that there at this time. We really need that clear, objective perception in thought. Eckhart Tolle, who is a spiritual author, for lack of a better word, most of you know who he is. One other line that he has said many times is, he said, I don't mind what happens. I don't care what happens. I don't mind. Now, when you hear that, you might think, well, big deal, or you might think, well, what does that really mean? Does this guy not give a shit about anything? No, it doesn't mean any of that at all. To the contrary, what it really means is that he has, and is an Aquarian, he has extraordinary ability to be so objective and to not identify with anything, that he can stand back and observe, and he doesn't mind what takes place because he's not attached to it. He's not attached to a belief, a thought, a person, a situation, a place. And to get to that level, I mean, I'm not at that level. I can't say I'm there, but I find it very inspiring when I remember that. And I do remember that occasionally. And I was just talking about it yesterday with my mentor. We were talking about that very line. I don't mind what happens. That is a true ability of being able to let go and stop trying to control everything that is happening or isn't happening or you want to happen. Comes back to that ability of being fluid, like water. Like Bruce Lee said, you know, he said, allow your mind to be like water, you know, so that you're not stuck, right, with a particular whatever it may be. So that's the beauty of Mercury in Aquarius. Just want to see, I had some other notes here. I just want to make sure. Oh, yes, we do also have Jupiter gone back into Pisces just recently. I will come back and talk about that separately, but that is a beautiful omen for the beginning of 2022, Jupiter going back into Pisces. And what's going to happen in April is that it's going to catch up to Neptune. And by that stage, Venus will also be in Pisces. And so we're going to have this triple conjunction of Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune all in Pisces, which last occurred about 160 something years ago. So it was quite a long time ago. That's a really special vibration and energy. A lot of you will be having a Venus return, which includes myself. That triple conjunction happens on my Venus. I know that'll be the case for many of you. So I want to come back and talk about that because I've been just kind of sitting and feeling that that energy. So I want to come back and talk about that as a separate video. But I do like the fact that Jupiter is in Pisces with this new moon that kicks off for us. So we've talked about the Uranus component. We've talked about the Chiron component. Let me just clear those lines. I guess really I just want to draw this to your attention. So when you look at the new moon in Capricorn, obviously the opposite sign is Cancer, right? And because it's picking up the square from Chiron, then the opposite sign to Aries is Libra. So whilst there are no points at the Aries and Cancer points, and there's no midpoints there either, by the way, so we can't fill it in even with midpoints, doesn't matter. We still have these polarities of Cancer and Libra that are highlighted simply because they sit opposite Aries and Cancer. And so this is a cardinal cross energy, right? So it does bring in the matter of initiation. Cardinal signs, which are Libra, Aries, Capricorn, and Cancer, have to do with initiation, courage and initiation, and actually taking action towards things. Now, I think the action that could be asked of you does need to be an action that you contemplate, right, and consider and reflect on, as opposed to just being completely impulsive and not giving it any thought. And I think that the main reason for that is because Venus is retrograde, right? So, there's a strong pull to just sitting with things that are churning over, things that you are feeling and processing and experiencing, things that may not be very comfortable. Venus was conjunct Pluto when she went retrograde. She ain't going to take you through, some Disneyland merry-go-round. She's going to take you through the deep caves of where, some pretty intense, confronting, dark material resides that you are either ready to work with or not. But she will take you there because Pluto will take you there. So, there's some very deep inner reflective processes with this journey. But it is a time to consider what you wish to create in your life in 2022. New moon in Capricorn. Capricorn corresponds to the structure of your reality, as I said before. The Venus in Capricorn, which is going to be the Venus star point, it's a brand new 8-year cycle, So have a think about that relative to where the Venus star point lands in your chart. By the way, it's at 18 degrees of Capricorn. And actually, when we think about it, the new moon is actually just literally days away from when the Venus star point lines up, right? The Venus star point lines up on the 8th of January, and the new moon is on the 2nd or 3rd of January, right? So the energies are days apart, right? So there's a strong emphasis on the archetype of Capricorn. And again, just to hopefully not sound repetitive, but it is important to really think about this. What reality do I want to create? Do I want to tune into? Is it a consensus reality? Is it the reality of what everybody else is dictating to me I should or should not be doing? Or am I going to be the sea goat of the Capricorn, connecting to the magical aspect of Saturn, which opens up levels of wisdom inside you. The priestess also asks us to go within as well, because all our wisdom is held inside. She's got the knowledge and the wisdom, and all she's saying is turn within. So that there's a lot of energy asking us to turn within, because when we are turning without, as it were, trying to find it out there, we're going to come up against the Saturn consensus level of the Capricorn energy. And that is going to appear as an energy that's restrictive. I mean, just to bring another example, which I briefly touched on in my last video, I mentioned how in Greece, they will be fining people who haven't taken the jab. So that means my mother and God knows how many other people. And they were going to fine them, I think it was 120 euro, and now they've put it up to 250 euro. She just called me yesterday and told me that. And I just told her not to worry for now, right? We'll work it out. But there's a version, right, of this Capricorn energy playing out on that consensus reality, which is about instilling fear and control, trying to get people to control people into doing something that they know deep inside themselves is not right for them to do. So there's a beautiful example that many will relate to, that is not an opinion, it's a freaking fact of what's happening. So some of you might say, well, okay, well, how do I, I can't change that if that rule comes in. No, of course you can't, right? But it's sort of hard to answer, what do you do about that? Well, it's different for each of us. It is different for each of us, but it obviously depends on your circumstances, the person that you are, where you live, and what's going on, right? Now, I'm not into preaching positive thinking as such. I do think positive thinking has a place, but I do think it's also been very misguided in the way it's been presented in the last 10, 20 years by certain public figures, suggesting that, if you envision a $20 million check in your mailbox for 30 days, it'll be there. Well, what a load of shit that is, right? So that's a really that's just a really commercialized level of positive thinking. But what I will say is that when we have a deep sense of faith and belief, and then I'll bring in that comment of what Eckhart Tolle said, I don't mind what happens, which is, it's actually trusting the universe saying that as well. It's trusting the universe that no matter what happens, you will be okay. It's also not identifying to anything and not attaching to anything. Now, when we attach and when we identify, that's what brings up our insecurities and our fears. So once we identify with some bullshit, direction that comes from these, Capricorn, Saturnian, fear-based systems, when we identify and buy that story, buy that narrative, buy that fear, well, game over. That's where you're at. That's all they need. That's all they need for people to do, and most people are doing it. Sadly, there are many who are not, though. Again, I'll say this: there are many who are not, whom we don't hear about, and in one way, thankfully, through things like social media, etc., there are a lot of things being filmed and recorded that are otherwise not shown in consensus media, fake news, right? So there is a lot of pushback. There's massive revolutions going on. There's massive non-compliance going on, and that's necessary. And we just had the final Saturn Uranus square. Where are they? There's Saturn, and there's Uranus. So that obviously depicts 3rd of January. Now I'm doing this recording on the 28th of December. So obviously things have moved a little bit. But anyway, we just had the last square a few days ago. So there's there's an incredible push still from both sides, because the energy is it's visceral and literal, on so many levels. So we're not through this yet. We really aren't. In 2022, we're not going to be through this little story that's playing out. But again, it just comes down to how we choose to participate in our own soul's evolution, in our own right to sovereignty. It's complex and it's not easy, but and look, I mean, I have people messaging me and emailing me all the time, with different things. I got pulled up not wearing a mask. I feel pressured to take the jab. I feel depressed because I can't travel, etc., etc., etc. Like, I get so many different messages and emails, and the whole mask thing is the most ridiculous thing. Sorry, no offense for those of you that wear it and believe in it. That's fine, that's your right. But if you don't believe me, well, just check out the science. The science has proven that the masks do nothing anyway. So, and look, I've never worn a mask ever. 2 years this shit's been going on, never worn a mask ever. I haven't been sick, and I won't get sick. It's a flu. That's what it is. So anyway, let's not go on about that too much. But yeah, I think the message really here is about what sort of reality do you want to start to perceive and create for yourself? Tune into the Uranus energy. That will help you become more free and able to do some things that are outside of the norm, that won't, rock the boat too much, as it were, because Uranus is trying this new moon. It's supporting. It's not in conflict with it. Saying, hey, let's get a new reality, a new perspective on reality going that actually brings in some level of freedom and revolution for you, so you can wake up. Uranus is the awakener. He wakes us up. A lot of people don't like it. No one likes to have their little comfort zone and their little nest, suddenly turned upside down, as it were. But that's Uranus. That's what it's going to do. In this case, so it is trine, so it's not going to, turn your whole world, 180 degrees. But it's an opportunity, Uranus is breakthroughs. So this is kind of like an opportunity for a breakthrough of a reality that you wish to start to perceive and create, construct, deconstruct, reconstruct, integrate, that gives you a greater sense of autonomy. But again, the main thing is that the relationship stuff that comes into this is quite huge. For some people, it's going to be quite challenging because of the Chiron square. But on the other hand, at the same time, Chiron is also about being able to work through, squaring the new moon, working through and understanding what has kept you in a conditioned sort of way about the nature of relationships to you, right? And what can help you be stronger within your own identity, right? And, appreciate relationships, because it is opposite Libra, right? But not lose yourself in a construct, Saturn Capricorn, in a reality, Saturn Capricorn, that is completely conditioned and doesn't allow for your own sovereignty and identity to shine through. So this is breaking some old patterns. Venus is there with Pluto as well. Breaking some old patterns and reconstructing even a new level of your own identity, you know. So it's very powerful, and it's a very I'm liking this energy. I've got Mars in Capricorn, so perhaps that's why, and all this stuff's hanging around my Mars. So yeah, I like it. But again, you know, I've had Saturn transiting Saturn on my moon all year, and you know, that hasn't been fun and joy the whole time, but it has taught me a lot of things. I've learned a lot. So, and I'm reminded consistently, and particularly yesterday, of when you integrate Saturn inside you, you activate the magi, the magician, and you are not you're not really as bothered by the Saturn world out there. It doesn't really have that same impact on you. You know, a simple example would be like someone very close to me has got Mars in the first house, for instance, in Capricorn, actually, in their natal chart. And they've got Pallas Athena there as well. So this person has he's the archetypal warrior, right? Both on a physical level and with his wisdom, Pallas Athena. And he is very wise and very intelligent. Now, here's another individual who has pretty much lived his life as per normal for the last 2 years. Nothing's changed in his life from the point of view of being dictated to or being in fear or conforming to anything, right? Now, that's a person with Mars in the first house. So that energy of Mars gets pushed out. So no one's going to approach him and tell him to do or to not do. It's just not going to happen. No, another person who's what have they got? I think it's Pluto, Moon, and and Neptune in the 8th as well. And that's an individual who can be invisible to the consensus reality, like, you know, can drive speeding, for instance. I'm not advocating speeding. I'm just giving an example, you know, a little mundane example. But he could like be, you know, where it's a 60 zone, be doing 70, and the police are just sitting there, and he's just invisible to them. He just has this, you know, invisible sort of power. And you know, all of that just comes back to our own inner landscapes, right? And understanding our own inner landscape and understanding what are we actually projecting out there. If we project fear, then we're just going to experience situations that just put us into a situation where fear just looks at us, stares us right in the face. It just comes down to what we project. So, what do we want to project with the new moon? A reality that sustains and nurtures our own unique self, Aries, and autonomous self and sovereignty and liberated self, Uranus, in a paradigm that, yes, might be very challenging, and we have a chance to deconstruct and reconstruct here. But be patient with what you instigate or initiate as well, because Capricorn is a sign of patience. Things don't happen quickly. Venus is retrograde in Capricorn. There's another symbol of, you know, just hold up a bit, just reflect on things, take care with the steps and decisions that you are taking with what you wish to create. But overall, it's an awesome new moon, and I'm just going to leave it there. I think that's probably enough to give you guys just a little bit to think about. Hopefully that was helpful. I will now see you guys in the new year, as in the calendar man made calendar new year, which will be in the first week of January sometime. As I said, the true new year is the 21st of March. I may come back and do something on Venus. Another astrologer has asked me to sit with him and talk about the Venus star point, etc. So you may see me doing that somewhere, but I'll bring it up on my channel if I do, because it will be slightly different to what I've discussed previously. So that may be happening before the new year. I'll just see if I've got time. I've still got, other sort of commitments and things, family sort of stuff. It is holiday season as well. So kind of trying to juggle a bit of everything. Yeah. All right. So if I don't see you until the first week of January, I want to wish you all a beautiful, beautiful evening. If you decide to go out on New Year's Eve, it's usually quite a celebratory time, or if you want to rest, whatever you're going to do, just enjoy, prepare for this beautiful new moon cycle. And also with the new moon, don't forget, you're not going to see the result of the new moon until really the end of the cycle. You'll see certain things of it blooming perhaps in the midway path, which will be the full moon. But the entire outcome of what you perhaps create some intentional purpose around, that's what we do during the new moon. We plant some seeds, the result of that, you won't see it till around about the end of January, right? So don't forget that, and just, be patient and and be happy. I did see the Matrix 4, by the way. A lot of people have interesting perspectives on that. I quite liked it. I thought there was, forget about hidden symbols, it was blatant, obvious, thrown in your face, the language that they were using in terms of symbolism around, of course, what's going on in the world today, saying things like, at the end there was a line where the bad guy said, but that's what the world wants. They want to be controlled because they're sheep. That line was in that movie. So wakey, wakey. Step into Uranus. That'll wake you up. That'll send electricity through your spine and light your spine up like a freaking Christmas tree. Anyway, much love, much blessings. See you all very soon. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for all your love and support, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon in the new year. Much love. Bye.